I'm Justin Moed, and I'm running in House District 97. That's downtown, the south side and the west side of the city. I'm a lifelong resident of Greater Indianapolis, a homeowner in Garfield Park, and a graduate of Butler University. And I started out at the State House as a doorkeeper, just opening the door for folks as they came in and out. And I've been working my way up, and I became a senior policy analyst for the House of Representatives. And at that job, I learned a lot about how the State House works, and sometimes it just doesn't work. And now I want to try and put that experience to work at the State House. Some of the top priorities that I'd like to work on are job creation. Our district is centrally located near the interstates, near rail lines, near the airport. We're filled with vacant warehouses and factories from the GM stamping plant on the near west side. We've got a lot of potential, but it's not being tapped into on our side. We need to have training facilities. We need to use our infrastructure and our location to try and attract new jobs to the south side and the west side of the city. I want to work on neighborhood development, fixing the abandoned housing crisis that we have in our neighborhoods. We've got to take care of it. It's a spot for crime. It lowers property values, and it's hurting our development of our neighborhoods. I want to work on crime. In my day job, I work at community corrections as a home detention officer. And my neighborhoods, I knock on doors and I come across my clients all the time. And we've got to take care of the crime problem. We've got theft crime, prostitution, drug crime. We've got to get tough on folks that are habitual offenders. We can't let them get back out on the streets after they continue to commit the same crime over and over again. And we need to make sure our infrastructure in our neighborhoods, roads, drains, sidewalks, are taken care of. Those are the things that people pay taxes for. And we need to make sure that the city's holding up its end of the deal and the state's holding up their end of the deal to make sure these things are being taken care of. And finally, my last priority would be to make sure that we keep servant leadership at the State House. We need people that are willing to go out there every day and be a part of the community that they represent. I started knocking doors back in March, and I've been to 9,000 doors. My campaign's been to 14,000. And I look forward to continuing to serve the people that I hope to represent.
Will you ensure that Indiana's environmental agencies, such as the Department of Environmental Management and the Department of Natural Resources, are funded at a level that supports sufficient staff to monitor our environment effectively and properly implement and enforce permits and rules?
The district that I'm going to represent is the southwest side of the city, and if anyone's been out there, you know that air quality is a big problem. And so absolutely I'll support funding to make sure that we can make sure that the quality of air that the folks in our area are breathing is good. And one of the first things I'll do is invite either Governor Pence or Governor John Gregg out to come knock doors, and they can take their finger down the side of a car and see the soot that's out there resting on people's cars that I've seen as we've gone door to door. Air quality is a major problem, and I think that we've got to show folks what a problem it is in our area. So absolutely.
I'd like for you to talk about renewable energy, clean jobs, green jobs. If you see the state of Indiana having a role in the creation of that.
I think the state should take the lead on promoting green jobs. Green jobs are some of the high-paid, high-skilled jobs of the future. And we can take a lead to show that the state's going to take the step forward on promoting renewable energy and saving on energy to cut down on costs and reduce our impact on the environment. And as far as renewable energy, I think that there's no silver bullet. So we need to diversify our energy portfolio, whether it's wind, solar, water, whatever the different mechanisms it is to help us kind of diversify and expand our portfolio will help us reduce our dependence on foreign oil, will help us be more green, and I think that we need to look at that. The state should definitely take the lead on that.
The state of Indiana receives a failing grade in several markers of women's health. How can we put an end to the misuse of women's public health policy for political and ideological influence?
Well, I think it's really unfortunate that women and a lot of other groups have become the target of folks' anger and fear at the State House over the past couple of years, and I think that we've got to do everything we can to start breaking that down, because that's not the right way to legislate. That's not the right way to run the General Assembly, and I think that folks, we can't be preventing access to contraceptives or birth control. I mean, I think that is a common sense thing that we can't be doing as a state legislature. And any time that we start getting into legislation that kind of crosses the line about targeting individuals based on just certain personal views. I think that we start getting into a gray area that maybe we shouldn't have. So that's kind of where I stand.
Starting with Mr. Moed, I'd like for you to talk about your position on privatization. Would you seek to have more of it, to have less of it, to take back what we've already privatized? Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we have to be really careful in what we do with privatization. I'm learning about it right now. I work for a private vendor that works through community corrections. So I work for a contractor that is privatized a section of our criminal justice system, and I'm seeing some of the challenges that poses. But we've certainly seen a lot of the flaws that have come from the privatization of the Medicaid and welfare system, and clearly that's ended up costing us millions of dollars in that mistake. So, and the lives that have been affected by reduced access to needed health care. So, I think that when we go forward with these programs, we have to be very, very careful to make sure that the goal is if we're providing a service, that the service does not diminish when we privatize it. If that happens, then we're not reaching our goal. I think that we have to be careful as we move forward.
Okay, so now we're at the point where I'm going to give you each 3 minutes to sort of summarize your thoughts for tonight. I also want you to notice I have a pile of paper over here full of really great questions that we've simply run out of time to address. So I'm going to give you some suggestions to include in your closing statements. If you wish to touch upon transit, immigration, healthcare, and education. I had questions on my podium here that we didn't get to about those issues, and I know they're all dying to hear what you think.
What was the last one? Sorry.
Education.
I'm Justin Moed, and as I said earlier, I've been out knocking doors since March. And my first day out knocking doors, it was snowing, and I might trade some of the days we've had this summer for that day. But I've been to over 9,000 doors myself and 14,000 from the campaign, and I've seen the struggle that's going on in our neighborhoods. And I've also seen that the folks in our neighborhoods are not limited by this struggle, that they have a lot of great potential. And what they need is their public officials to meet them and to help them. And what folks want right now is they want their government to listen, they want it to care, and they want it to act. And right now, folks out there want solutions. They want us to focus on finding solutions. And my campaign has been about that, about finding solutions to the abandoned housing problem, making sure that we find funds to tear down the houses that can't be fixed, incentivize people to move in and fix up homes that need to be fixed and can be fixed, and move couples into our neighborhoods, to address the crime problem that's occurring, whether it's drug crime, prostitution, or thefts that are happening in our neighborhoods. We need to make sure that the police and the prosecutor's office have the resources and the tools they need to make sure that they can handle the problems that are going on in our neighborhoods. Jobs and economic development. Like I said earlier, our district is in a great location with rail and the interstates and the airport. And we need to make sure that we're using that. We need to make sure that we're using our vacant, abandoned factories and commercial and industrial space. We need to make sure that we're using that to attract businesses to our side of town. And we need to incorporate mass transit into that. Mass transit is a huge part of that. We can connect people. We can make sure that people, I work at community corrections, and folks every day have a hard time getting to work. Workforce mobility is a major problem in our city, and it has to be addressed. Infrastructure. Our neighborhoods on the south and west side of the city have been left behind for years. There are areas in our district that don't have sidewalks, that do have gravel roads in the city. There are potholes. There are drains that aren't draining. Our city needs to make sure, and we need an advocate at the State House that will make sure that our side of town gets taken care of when it comes to infrastructure funding. And I will do that. When it comes to education, we have to have good schools. We have to make sure that the funding is there. To sit there and talk about why our schools are failing and we're cutting the funding at the same time, seeing class sizes grow, good teachers leave our school districts, how is that a solution? That's not a solution. We have to make sure, first and foremost, that our schools have the funding they need, and we're not doing that. We need to make sure that we attract the best, highest quality teachers out there for our schools here in the city. And we need to make sure that our schools are held accountable with those dollars when we send it. But all of this is going to take a lot of work, and it's not going to be easy. But neither was going from a doorkeeper to sitting in this seat. It took a lot of work. And I'm here right now, and I'm not going to ever take a day off on this campaign, just like I'm not going to if I get elected. Thank you.